This conference will now be recorded.
Right, section.
Okay, order of business. So that's your agenda.
Seems to be working all right.
I think so.
I don't know what we would change there.
I wouldn't recommend making any changes to like removing thing.
You know, and I've said it several times. I don't mean to sound redundant, but ever since the city administrator and I have started to meet on the Monday prior to every regular council meeting, it's really worked out really well, I think. And we still do that. In fact, I met with her today for Tuesday's meeting, but I think my first term, I didn't do that for a while. You know, we somehow got into the council rules, I think, when we adopted this resolution 2 years later that, oh,
Like, oh yeah, that's right.
how come I haven't been doing that?
Yeah.
And it's really helped. So
I concur.
it's a good,
At least you get to come during the day. I feel bad. I always show up at like 4:30, 4:15. I'm like, so
well,
Perfect timing.
here to talk.
It's like,
Supposed to show up here about 12:30.
it's like right before lunch, like somebody else.
yeah.
She's pretty good about letting you know if she has somewhere she has to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Page 2 of the order. No changes requested. Or a need for understanding.
Looks good to me.
Missing officers or anything in there?
I don't think so. Let's see.
Sure.
Pretty good. Punctuation.
No, I think this has been working pretty well. Crab.
Yeah,
It's a crap.
I did too. I was like, okay. Thanks for that.
Section 11 minutes.
Where are we, Stephanie?
Section 11.
Okay, yeah.
After the agenda part. No requested changes. It's kind of straightforward.
Mhm.
Section 12.
And there's your 10 days prior to the meeting
That's what yeah, right.
for staff has time to gather material.
And things change and we're adding things all the time. You know, even after, well, sometimes even after Wednesday at 5 PM. I mean, we're not very often, but like from Monday to Wednesday before the packets are printed, we're adding stuff and you know, things that just come or get completed that come before us. And,
Sometimes.
don't you agree?
Sometimes though, if things come late, they can't be expected to be on that agenda. They need to be pushed to the next one.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't allow enough time to research it and provide the adequate information.
If they're not
Flush.
something that's urgent for council to see,
Right,
there's no need why it has to be
Yeah,
right.
pushed so quickly.
yep, I agree. Then we got 13, that's the agenda packets, like 5 on Wednesday.
Mhm.
I can send them out with all the information.
You've been doing pretty good.
I try.
Yeah.
I get it, but if I don't, then And that's when it's
Some-
delayed.
Sometimes things happen and we don't get them till late Thursday or something like that, but
Yeah, so usually it's either if I'm gone on Wednesday, then obviously it's not gonna happen. And then if I just don't have all the information, then I wait for people.
I personally like to come in and get a packet because rather than looking on my computer, I've got a little laptop computer from the city and it's working really well. It's real easy for me to get on the Outlook and I look at it every day, but it's easier for me to look through something like this
Yeah,
and I'll read it different times during the weekend and especially during the day, Monday when I have free time
Yeah.
but
so do you guys want me to stick to the hard time or do you want me to keep waiting if I don't have all the stuff?
I'm fine. I don't ever feel rushed to read it. I mean, it's not a book.
I mean, it gets, because what was the last one was what, Friday? And so, and then I was out of town, and so I couldn't, I look at them online.
Yeah.
But when, it really makes it, if there was something on there, then I would have been in the crunch on Monday to try to talk
Yep.
to staff about issues.
So,
So, I think that was the rub before is, giving us enough time, especially the people that are working.
well, before it was Friday.
It was Friday
Yeah.
before. Yeah. And
I feel like it's usually ready by Thursday. Like Friday is kind of the
But
outlier.
if I stick to the hard Wednesday, which I don't care, I'll do that.
so,
Hard Wednesdays, and you'll just have to know, or people, staff who's adding things to the agenda will have to know if they do not meet that deadline and it is not an emergency, it will have to wait until the next meeting, which when it doesn't come forward to council and it was something that you guys wanted to see, you guys will also have to understand it wasn't ready. So it'll have to wait.
so I'm wondering, because right now we have a council meeting. So the following Mondays, when you go in and talk to Josette and set the agenda,
okay, we
Yeah,
normally have a council meeting the third Monday of, okay, just say for example, on the 20th.
Mhm.
Because of the holiday, it's Tuesday. I automatically go in today at 10 a.m.
Monday before.
the Monday before to set the agenda for the
So
meeting.
he's going on second.
And a lot of the items in her from the prior meeting have already been included in there, but we meet just to go over, okay, let's look at the agenda. What do we need to add? What's going to be put on it on Wednesday? And we just review it and discuss it.
That's still not, really, that's not 10 days.
yeah, see, and that's,
Friday. But we don't always know
But
what's going to be.
like it kind of is in our action item summary from the previous meeting. We kind of,
but it's not so much the things that come up in council, because that gives you that lead time to work on those. What I'm seeing maybe is more of the problem is you're coming in on Monday, we're expecting you to get what we brought to you by Wednesday.
2 days.
See what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
so what if we move that up a week? Say you come in on the
following
Tuesday or Wednesday the week before.
So
after the,
And so,
council meeting.
so you've got up to 5 days to put it onto the Wednesday agenda.
Yeah. That's
mean-
give them enough time to
I
put
mean-
other stuff in theory.
How often does really something come up, especially from council, that they want something shoved onto the agenda?
Not very often.
not very often.
Yeah, so mostly it's stuff coming out of staff.
I would venture to say that if I went the following day, we would just look at our action item summary. Okay, and we're gonna, and yeah, we could talk about that. But what I'm saying is that next week, there's going to be other stuff that comes before us. And a majority of the meeting, the next meeting is determined that week. Right, Stephanie?
But the 10 days isn't stuff that's added by staff, it's stuff that's added by council. So it gives 10 days before the meeting for council to add their things so that gives staff time
Right.
to add
Sure.
research
Yeah.
those things. So if it comes Monday, then there's only really 48 hours-ish, 2 or 3 days to get all of that put together.
Yeah.
And I just thought of something. I kind of like that idea, Dale, because some of the things I forget about that next week.
Well,
And,
yeah.
and after a council meeting, it's fresh in my mind. The action item summary, I have a lot of that written down to go to the next meeting. So that might be a good idea when Josette and I might change it up to the next day or two right after our meeting. That would give us 10 days.
Wednesday or Thursday?
I would think so.
You come in the mornings?
Yeah,
That would give you, even Thursday, you'd have part of that day.
Yeah, you still have
Plus,
2 days, really.
well,
Thursday would be good.
3 days the next week, so.
Yeah, I could start doing that.
So. Yeah, that might be that might help to be able to make that come out on Wednesdays.
Easier.
So, yeah, so,
Yeah.
and I don't know if that's really anything in here. It doesn't spell that out in here, does it?
No, I'm just putting the hard Wednesday.
It's just that, that's just something
I could,
I
agreed to.
don't have a problem being nimble. If something just needs an extra day, that's fine. I'm not gonna be like, it should have been yesterday. But I can't speak for
The
everyone.
only thing is though, and unless I'm mistaken in your time on council, we haven't had those big, thick packets. There has been times where it's a
Really.
book.
So
So
is
the
it,
majority of the time, it's not a big deal, I would think, but other times, or if you're gone,
so clarify for us. Rick comes in and meets, and then there's an action from the administrator to you, says this is what's going to be on, we need to put into the packet. This is what goes on the agenda for this next meeting?
No.
You're kind of already doing it?
no. So typically, Rick will come in and talk to Josette, and they'll have their meeting. Most of the time, I'm not in there. Sometimes I'll overhear things and include myself, as you know. And then it's all on her, 9 times out of 10, things aren't coming from me. So like last packet, I don't know how much of that, more than likely none of that was from me. This is from me because I just copied the resolution on there. Like the resolution for the next meeting, that will be coming from me. But I'm not a part of it really until Wednesday. And then I'm knocking on people's doors saying, do you have my stuff? Are we good to go?
Yeah.
Are we done? Do you have anything that you need to add? And then if people don't,
Yeah.
then they need another day, or all of a sudden they have to leave for something, then I'm, okay, well, Thursday it is, or Friday,
So you need to knock Tuesday.
or earlier.
Yeah.
'Cause
So
I put the packet together.
during this, earlier in the preceding week,
Should help, I would think.
should help a lot of that.
Yeah.
well,
And do you see, is there a reason why we can't do it that way? Is there?
I wouldn't think so.
I don't-
actually, I like the idea right after the meeting. And I will also come in the following week and to get
We can,
kind of like a post meeting, agenda final?
Well, it can be an update because.
An update.
You don't know necessarily has staff added anything.
And generally, staff will add some things.
Oh, yeah,
So,
posted stuff.
so I like to come in every week anyway, so.
So I have that you're gonna stick to the hard Wednesday deadline. The mayor will come in the Wednesday or Thursday the week before. And unless it's an emergency, things will have to wait until the next meeting.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Good.
An
If I
emergency-
come in and go, we need to discuss the login, we need to put that on the agenda. Well,
Too
no,
bad.
it'll go to the next, it's not an emergency.
You okay with that, Sheree?
Sure.
Good.
All right, we're getting there,
Yeah, changes.
huh? Yeah.
That's one change.
I'm sure that the Wednesday was a Susan change initially, so I bet that's gonna be on her.
Well, it's not really a change in here, right? It's just,
No, it's,
we're actually gonna
No,
do
it's more implementation.
Yeah. Okay.
But it didn't used to say
where
Wednesday.
does it say that you're supposed to meet with the city administrator?
It doesn't.
It says 10 days. All material for agenda items must be delivered in section 12.
Yeah.
To the city administrator's office 10 days prior to the meeting at which the agenda item is to be
We just
considered.
gotta do
Which
our
will be
job.
Friday, so.
Okay.
Yes, I think that's good. Section 14, items to act on generally. Okay, so basically this one says you shouldn't expect to discuss something if you bring it up at the meeting, like some counselors have done in the past that aren't here anymore, because it doesn't give staff or council enough time to have research or have all the information.
One also tells the public if you come and put in
Yeah.
a comment, we're
Yeah.
not gonna necessarily
Yeah.
do anything about it tonight unless it's an emergency.
Yeah.
If someone's, if weed is flooding and we need to take some action, obviously, but if it's just,
So I guess
A
when
comment.
somebody does that, we need to call that out and go,
Council needs to stand up.
can you explain why this is an emergency?
Yeah. And if it is not an emergency, then
Urgent
council
nature.
can come to a consensus and say, we would like this added to the next agenda.
Yeah.
So that staff can have adequate time to research it.
which we do that. We just did that with Kimberly, right? Her question about the response from out of town police when they were,
Yes.
Yeah,
and we said, okay, let's get more information and report
But
back.
this isn't from citizens, this is
Mhm.
council
Yeah.
or staff.
And that's my job.
I guess it's both.
Yeah.
Therese.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I'm learning. Well, yeah.
Well, and
it's-
council as a whole, you guys, these aren't for staff to throw at you all the time and say, you're not following the rules. It's for you guys to keep each other accountable.
Yeah.
well,
Yeah.
like you explained earlier, it's for somebody to force something without any prior knowledge at a meeting.
Well,
It's just not serious really, because we all, especially, depending on what it is, but you just haven't had time to think about it, research or do anything.
well, it actually, it's like we're all in this boat together and we're all going to the same destination. We've been planning this for a week now, 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden somebody throws an anchor out and it stops the meeting. And the purpose for these rules is to have an is to best serve the public as efficient as we can. And when something like that, when somebody throws an anchor out and brings up a new topic, yeah, it might be important, but it's not really fair to the staff that hasn't done any research on that. And how can we expect them to answer that? And so you just get 9 times out of 10, you end up in the weeds and, you're,
I think we have a
Yeah.
blind slide.
so.
Blind side.
Oh.
Well, and the whole point, this is a good reminder that the whole point of a council meeting is to make decisions. Unless it's a work session, which the work session is you're coming to an agreement and discussing things so that another meeting you can make a decision. So if you bring a counselor brings something up at a meeting expecting council to make a decision on it, it's really not fair because you guys have only had 10 minutes, 2 hours to even think about this thing. You can't possibly have all the information you need to make an educated decision.
Yeah.
So it's the blindsiding, no surprises, and fairness, really.
And again, public had no
They had no idea.
chance of
Exactly. What if they wanted to
input
come and talk about it?
process.
So unless it's an emergency, things really shouldn't be added to the agenda.
Right.
All right.
Let's see, section 15, signing of agreements and contracts.
Presiding officer.
Yeah, so this would be, unless you guys state that Josette signs it or
Right.
whoever else.
There, 16.
Sergeant at Arms.
Yeah, we've been a little lacking.
That's not my deal,
Understandably,
that's
but
you
yes.
guys.
Hopefully that'll change here
For
this
Sergeant
next
at
year.
Arms.
Get represented back. Yep.
You guys could make that happen if you wanted it to.
Yeah, requested the duty officer attend the meeting or the. We can't have the interim chief. That's just Josette sitting here.
Well, that's off topic, never mind.
You won't let me pack my gun in here, so.
Yeah.
You can have what?
That's comments, I'm not gonna say anything.
I would think that if we had a kind of a big topic that drew a lot of public input and attendance, and if we knew that, I think we could make sure
Yeah.
Sergeant at Arms is here.
Yeah, but you don't always know.
You don't always
You
know.
don't always know.
Typically, we don't know
Yeah.
And, you know, we got,
until we walk in.
I mean,
Salmon Fest. Wasn't it Salmon Fest?
I remember last year we just had one participant on an audience segment, and it got pretty colorful. And, you know, it's, the temperature rose.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so you never know. You never know.
So, yeah, I don't like being a sitting duck.
Which in instances like that, you guys can adjourn a meeting. Just say, this meeting is adjourned.
If a situation's fitting.
That way everybody can be released and we can get out. We do have to take abuse, but safety becomes a concern.
Right,
yeah.
exactly.
It is a blizzard out there. Not right this second coming up. It was insane.
Sticking on top now.
Not yet, but it was 33
Yeah.
and it is coming down. Was right now it's not, but it was.
It was snowing hard when I left my house. When I got here, it had let up.
It was pretty out the bathroom window looking at the flagpole with the snow coming down though.
Oh, yeah.
I was really appreciating faux spring this weekend. And I'm like, just keep this train on the rails. We don't need to fear.
I have an appointment in
Eye on the prize. June, July,
tomorrow
August.
at 1 and it's like, yeah, I'm not sure I'm going to go in. Sorry.
Drag your feet in the morning, then you'll be fine.
Yeah.
I'm hoping for a late start at school.
High elevation.
They're all like, no school, no, because then you have to make it up.
Yeah, that's the
Late start
Yeah,
is
'cause
just
we
just-
time.
Added that in. Hi, where are we? What number?
We are on
Sorry, 16.
16, section 16, Sergeant at Arms.
Page what?
Page 4,
They're not numbered.
flip 3 times.
What? Wait, what?
18's at the top.
Agreement. Okay. Do you mind if we go back a little, just on a couple things?
Sure.
Okay, where are we at?
Section 10, number 6, so just the page before. It's topics from the floor.
Oh, wait a minute.
Under section 10.
Section 10, I printed it up off of that other,
The agenda.
Oh, I see yours.
Yep, that one.
I didn't add that. Okay, so number,
section 10, number 6.
Got it.
Okay, so it's, maybe you guys already covered this. It said the city recorder will give the forms to the mayor for inclusion in the appropriate section of the meeting. So does that mean when it's that moment, that's when you give it to him, or do you give him?
I haven't done that since I moved to this end. Now I just tell them who's on the list.
Okay,
If they were speaking specific to an item,
an agenda item.
an agenda item, they get the option to either discuss it just during, or to speak during topics on the floor, or to speak during that, like the onset of that item. But because it used to be that I could just hand it over to him, but now everything's different, so I just tell him
Right.
who's on the list.
Okay. That was really my only, I just was asking for clarification on that. Next page, number 13, of course. You've got number 14, sorry, items from the mayor, councilors, and city administrator. I know that this has been following the order of the agenda. And because we now have city administrator report as does that need to be called out? Instead of being included with items from mayor, councilors, and city administrator?
I'm sorry.
If you look at a standard,
Number is that?
oh, sorry, number 14.
Okay, I was on the wrong page.
I'm trying to confuse you all.
So you're saying we have been doing it out of order?
No,
It's redundant.
no, it's just that according to the agenda, it's a separate line item, city administrator report. Everything else follows the order of the agenda.
Yeah, you're right. So it
Okay.
should just be,
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Mayor and councilors, and then city administrator report is
yeah, so it
Okay.
should,
They're separate.
Yeah,
Yeah,
on our real agenda, they're separate. Here they
Yeah.
aren't, yeah.
So I
you want to
think,
keep that separate?
I'm
It
sure.
works well how we do
Yeah.
it, yeah.
Yeah.
Less confusion. Whose turn it is to speak? City administrator or counselors?
Well, I can't remember off the top of my head, does it typically come before or after items from mayor and councilors? I feel like
it goes
should come
before.
It comes before. It
Yeah.
comes before.
I feel like it should be before.
It's right.
So that would be 14,
action item summary
mayor and councilors 15.
is actually a separate
Afterward.
item also,
Yeah,
so.
yeah. So I was gonna put, so it's correspondence, the city administrator report,
Yeah.
then items from counter, and then.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
And you said now we're on 18? That's where we were.
Yeah.
Perfect.
17.
Okay, excellent.
Sorry.
Good, I
So
caught up.
So we're on
Right, I caught
section
up.
17,
Yeah.
so we're now,
But we should
Down, down,
probably.
down.
Oh, down here, okay.
yeah, so you wanna, it looks like.
Okay, and that,
He's got a couple.
so are we talking about things or
Hold on, he
just,
wants to say something about the agenda part.
Well, no, I just, we did have a discussion. There was a couple things that we
Oh, yeah.
suggested.
So.
Around 13, yeah,
Number 13, the deadline.
that's 13.
They
Yeah.
agreed they would like to stick to the hard deadline of Wednesday.
Yeah.
If people don't, mostly staff, if the items are not ready in time, they will not be at the meeting. They will have to wait till the next meeting. Only items of urgent nature, emergencies will be
Right.
added.
correct?
And then the mayor or counselors now must come, well, it's reiterating because really it was 10 days. So it must be the week. So basically, if council doesn't bring forward counselors independently or the mayor doesn't bring forward items for the next council meeting, the week of a council meeting, in order to allow enough time to the whole next week.
So if we
staff to
meet on
prepare.
Monday, you have the rest of that week to add things to the agenda for the next
Correct.
meeting.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you deliver it to staff
You're late.
after that week on the next meeting.
Okay, so we're holding to the 10 days prior.
Yes.
We're held to 10 days, they're held to Wednesday. And Rick is gonna start coming to meet with Josette later in the week after council to get started on the agenda from the action item summary from that meeting, to give more time to Stephanie
Yeah.
for that
Because
new
before
Wednesday.
he would come in on
Deadline.
Mondays and then the packet has to be out on Wednesday. Well, that's really only
Oh,
a
that's,
couple days
Yeah.
of things being prepared.
Yeah.
And it's just not enough lead time.
no, that's perfect. And those were the things that I'd highlighted that I was asking about. So perfect. Excellent. Cool.
Okay.
So now we're at Sergeant at Arms.
We were there, we were saying that that hasn't been necessarily happening lately for obvious reasons. Someone said that, well, if we had a feeling there was going to be a topic that would draw a lot of attention, we could ask for that, for an officer to come. But we were saying you don't always see it coming. So that was the item.
No, but that has been the standard practice. It
Yes.
always has been. But it can also be his designee. So if he designates Josette or you or anybody else to
I
be
think-
his
I
representative.
think they meant like from a safety standard, somebody who could
I know.
carry a weapon and protect us. Because it's not necessarily the angry people, because we, at the end of the day, have to take that for a set amount of time. It's the safety part of it.
And then the last
I'm
comment.
not a law enforcement officer and I'm probably just gonna like save myself.
I think that once Kendall gets out of the academy in April,
We should start asking.
and then we'll hire another full-time. We'll go in the academy in July. I would suspect that probably beginning in the summertime, we'll have probably an officer here at every meeting, I would think. So
So I got
back to normal,
Yeah.
one staffing is
hopefully.
increased. Kendall's out of academy and another is hired. We would like to have an officer at meetings.
Yep.
And in the meantime, we'll just be proactive if we feel like something could be an issue,
Mhm.
just request it specifically, but after that point, it'll be more expected.
Contentious.
And then the last comment that was being made right when you came in, Susan, was that if something did escalate, we don't have to continue to entertain it. We can adjourn the meeting.
Oh,
So
yeah.
we can all leave.
Yeah.
Be safe.
We're talking like danger.
Yeah.
No,
Physical harm.
well, you can do that at any
I'll
time.
nudge the gavel over.
And we're done.
Kabosh.
That is one safety issue here, is that if we're talking about that, let's be honest about it. Whoever is up there is at risk unless they're able to get out that door.
Mhm.
Or
That's not-
go hide in the closet.
Neither of those are exterior doors.
Right, but you can get from there out that way to that door, and you don't have you're not as exposed, correct? Or that door is not.
Is this just
And neither of those, I don't have access to either.
Right.
it's not an exit, is it?
No, it'd be a
No.
way out, but this.
It would be another route.
Goes to
Oh,
the
it does go to another door?
Put you behind
I've
the
never,
court office.
quicker.
It's 5 locked.
Yeah, it's locked.
so it goes out to the hall?
No.
It
It goes into the courtroom
Oh,
and then that goes out to the hall, right?
okay, yeah.
Court.
Their office.
Yes,
Yeah.
court office.
Yeah, and then that door is not exact. That's
It's
to the
police.
police. Yeah,
They're not going to unlock that.
no, and that would not be easily accessible if you, it is
Gonna jump over.
well, some people could, not me. So that's just something,
Well, really, if ever this is remodeled, it should be
Yeah.
reversed.
Yes,
I never even thought about it, Susan, actually, but,
Oh,
we've
we've
had,
had some.
well, that might be good to unlock this door then. When,
but no, you can't.
Bruce
That's
told me they were talking about putting like ballistic,
bulletproof stuff.
yeah, like a barrier on the backside. So
There are
you can
places-
duck down, but you're still.
Let's just make a trap door with a tunnel.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
Or we
Right
can get
under
our little
Rick's seat.
Star
We'll
Trek
just
things
pile
to
down.
just say, beat me up, No, I always look for the exits. I mean, that's something that you're trained to do and, how you seat yourselves so that you have an egress. And this is not in any way, shape or form ideal.
That's one of the
we'll hopefully get
officer.
an officer back in.
Okay.
Okay, number 17, speaking by Councilmember Stingley. So what we've been doing is just, here's an item. Do you have any requests or changes? No, yes, and then we move on to the next.
So interesting. One of the things at a training I was at for boards is what they do is every person goes in order. It doesn't matter, you can rotate like you do. You start at one person, you just go through all of them. Say, do you have something to say? And then you don't, you can say no. But it gives everyone an opportunity to speak first. And then if there's a follow-up, people can say something, because if you bring up something interesting, it's like, oh yeah, I have an agreement or disagreement, whatever it is. And then you just do it twice so that it does not create a long, extremely long discussion. It prevents those half-hour discussions that go off on bunny trails. But I'm not sure. I guess they were saying that's actually how Roberts is supposed to work. And this was ahead of that kind
That's
of,
how the Oregon legislature does it.
yeah. So,
There's a lot of things that you might not want in the Roberts rules, though.
right, exactly. And that's why I kind of like that book and the way they do stuff. That's something I'd love to do as a training with us, by the way. It was really interesting. So I'm sorry. But yeah, I think that I like just making sure everybody has an opportunity to say something, whether they have something to say or not, making sure rather than waiting to be recognized, it's an opportunity. And maybe some of us,
So,
me, because I tend to.
so this is saying something different to me.
Yes.
This is saying that when you want to speak, you address the mayor or the council president, who's ever chairing the meeting for the floor.
Right.
And upon recognition, and then shall keep the remarks to the topic at hand. You're discussing. What you're maybe talking about, Susan, is towards the bottom when the councilors or mayor has any items at the end, kind of towards right before the.
No.
Oh, okay.
But that was just an aside of something that I had learned
Okay.
last summer. The other thing is, everybody is supposed to get recognition before they speak. I know it's hard. It's a hard practice to get into because it doesn't make it easy.
No.
But then I think it also, it makes us be more intentional in when we speak and what we say, rather than going on and on and on and on like Susan can do.
So the only time I've felt awkward about that is if one of us is on Zoom, there's no way to get recognized except to just talk.
Yeah.
You have
So
any
you would have to
ideas for that?
say, Council asked you, or whoever, do you have anything to add?
Yeah.
Okay.
It really should be even outside of Zoom, say, because.
Well, in the meeting, he
member-
usually just looks to each of us.
So say a council member
But
hasn't
without the
spoken
screen.
anything before you guys are making decisions, say, Counselor A, do you have anything you would like to add?
Mhm.
They can say no, or, yeah.
I just didn't know, because I know we can't be on the screen, right? Because you're taking minutes.
Yeah.
Oh, is that the reason why I was wondering
Just
about that?
clones my screen.
You can't unmirror.
I don't know how to do that. You can try it.
Yeah, let's do that. Because
I don't know how to do
When
that
we've-
stuff.
It's difficult. And
we've had guests, I mean,
Yeah,
It's
I
nice
think,
to see them.
yeah, I'd like to know who's there. In fact, I didn't even know you were on one night until suddenly your voice came out of nowhere.
Mhm.
And it's like, oh, I didn't even
Yeah.
think about the fact
Because
that
then we
you were
could,
there.
if we had something, we could signal or,
do we have a
something.
resource for you
Yeah, I'll take a look.
to give you some training on that?
I'll just take a look
you-
tonight after this, and
And-
if we can't figure out, I'll look it up.
Yeah, all it does is make this screen up there.
or-
Yeah, it-
Yeah, it's mirroring. You just need
Yeah.
a checkbox.
Yeah.
It'll be easy.
You
Yeah,
just
It's
look-
screens.
Yeah.
There's
It's
only
just
one screen.
Right. In your instruction, you can have it have screens that are mirroring or screens that are not mirroring, and that would be your screen 2. This would be screen 1. It's when you identify.
That's what
your
we do at school, because sometimes you're on your Chromebook and you don't want the kids seeing what's up there, but they need something visual. But I don't want to have to sit and do nothing just because they're watching number blocks at snack time.
And,
I don't want you to
sometimes,
see that.
sometimes I forget. I mean, I'm just trying to, there's a
Yeah.
lot I have to.
Remember when you have no visual.
Sometimes I forget and I apologize. I'm going to try to be more cognitive of people that are not present, but on the Zoom. So I'll try to do my
I'm
best.
expecting a year of perfect health after the few months. I'll be here.
So how do we want to get the attention of the mayor for gaining the floor? Do we want?
That's up to you guys.
Here in person?
Yeah, here in person.
I feel like he does a good job of making eye contact to check. And I was just kind of,
But
So we want to raise a hand or Mr. Mayor, is it a visual or is it an audio?
I think if he's looking, it's a visual. If he seems like he's about to move on and he hasn't looked, or something's come up since he looked, then you could be like, oh, some
Well,
kind
and
of.
you do a good
subtle.
job when I've been up there over the years to point, and I do the same thing
Yeah.
when I've been on that side. So,
And when I see your raised hand, I'll let the other person finish, but I will point and I say, I'll get to you.
you have said that I'll get to you next, but so-and-so was first. And that is another thing that's called out, is that it's supposed to be in order. And that's where I think we get ourselves in trouble according to our rules, that we do a lot of back and forth, as opposed to, it talks about here, you make a statement, you make your opinion known, or what you want to say, and then it's the next person's turn, not, you say something, I say something, we're not having a discussion like that. I think there are times that's important to do, but I think that needs to be, I don't know how we do that, whether we say, well, this is up for discussion now. Is there discussion, as opposed to, this is my statement? Does that make sense?
Well, that's what's a little confusing how we do it, because we actually most of the times have our discussion before we actually call for the question.
Yeah.
And then any further discussion. So.
I prefer that.
You prefer what?
Yeah, and it's not.
How we do it.
But yeah.
Yeah.
But to Susan's point, there's then that awkward moment sometimes of like, oh, hold a second, I got more to say here.
Yeah.
And there needs to be discussed, maybe there's a different angle we can
And-
Well,
discuss.
the 4 other boards I sit on all do it the same way we're currently doing it. And I think I could understand if it was like really like state legislator level, but I think that it hasn't become unwieldy in a small setting like this.
Well, I think
And,
once everyone's on the same page of raise hand,
yeah,
it will make it, because it's very easy for loud voices,
and then
presentations to overpower the people who are just trying to.
And then if Sheree or Susan that's sitting right on either side of me notice that Counselor Webb or Counselor Norman has her hand up, just tell me, just remind me.
Yeah.
And point to me and help me. Because if we were sitting in an oval, it'd be a lot easier for me to see, but I don't always see, so.
Well, and by raising the hands, then the mayor can do his job of controlling the tempo of the discussion of.
And I think I do pretty
Instead
good
of somebody
at that.
dominating,
Mhm.
So,
because I think that's kind of the issue we've had in the past. One person just starts just hammering. Nobody else can get a word in edgewise till they're done, and then maybe you start all over again because they throw a new bone out there on the table.
Well, and sometimes if you, instead of just overpowering it, you were just to wait and let the person finish who has the floor.
Yeah.
Your question or comment has been addressed, which I am very good at interrupting people. So I really identify with this. Because I have a question.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I think that's another thing that's really important to do, is if we have a question about something that's being said, write it down so that we don't need to interrupt or stop listening because we're trying to remember what our question is or what we want to say. Active listening, right? We are supposed to actively listen, not listen to respond. And so it's hard for me too.
Fun exercise to do that, though.
It is.
And especially if it's something a little more heated. I mean, if there is opposing opinions and you're trying to make a point,
You're beating a dead horse.
Again, for the 18th time. Yes. All right.
But yeah, I don't want to stifle debate because that's the only really thing we do is deliberate.
Well, I think when,
I guess where it needs to stop is where you're repeating yourself.
Yeah.
You're repeating the same point. Then that's when, okay, we understand your point. You don't need to tell us 5 times,
And that's part of what that book was good at talking about. And then also in here, it talks about how you can have a process check. Anybody can call for it to say, hey, just checking.
are we moving forward?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because it is really just to be like, just keep discussing it. Yeah, we all agree this is really awesome. And we're just going to keep circling it for an hour.
Come on. And there's a point. Everybody's had their say, and we don't need to keep saying it. We're just going to vote, see how it.
Yeah, vote or table at some point.
Yeah.
You reach a point where.
Although there are, and
See that
I
kind of happen.
totally agree. Totally agree. When it's done, it's done. But there are times when it's been so long since we've had any kind of really cohesive agreement on something. It just feels good to, like you said, just keep talking about it.
Yeah.
But yeah.
That's where it's important for whoever's presiding over the meeting to say, okay, are we ready to make a motion here?
Yeah.
Has everybody had their say, or are we moving forward? Do we need to
Yeah, you're
call
just
for a motion?
adding points to something when people are already ready.
You already agree.
I'm here in agreement with
Don't need
the
to keep
counselors.
selling it.
I think we should move this forward.
Exactly.
For a motion.
Exactly.
So section 18.
Moving forward. I was waiting for somebody to say that. I think that's pretty self-explanatory.
Mhm.
So I do have a question, actually. So I know these are our council rules, more related to, I presume, meeting rules, it's rules and procedures, but it's not just as it relates to in meetings. And I really appreciated at the last meeting, you clarified that you talked to the city administrator. Oh, no. No, that was not. That was at school board.
Wrong person.
Male, about your age, said that they talked to such and such a instructor about doing something. and then clarified that they had first talked to the superintendent before going forward and speaking to them because it was important, but it was the kind of thing that had to be this person with the instructor, not this person with a message, playing the King's Page kind of thing. But that's something that I think we need to be really mindful of here. I'm not around enough to really talk to anybody at the city other than to pay my bill or say hi on occasion. But I think it's really something, and I don't know that any of us do, but it's so easy if you're out at the park and one of the guys is there and you just ask a question. I know that that's been an issue in the past. I don't know that it's with this particular group, but just to be really mindful of that, I have a note up on next to my desk is, just because you're close doesn't mean it's okay to ask. I mean, that's not exactly the phrase, but I have to keep that. I had to keep that up there for a while because my boss, who I wanted information from, wasn't really my boss, was right there. It was so easy to just knock on the door, walk in and say, hey, what do you think? Or can I do this? As opposed to,
Sorry, it's my grandmother.
no, that's fine. As opposed to going to Josette and saying, could you go ask, or is it okay if I talk to them about this? So just, yeah. And you guys might have already done all this with the committee discussions.
No, but I would like to know on this one that you actually can direct questions directly to me also.
I was
In
gonna
and out
say
of
that,
meeting.
and especially when
I am
if she's not here.
your secretary.
Mhm.
So there are items that you don't need to take to Josette.
So
that
can
come to
we,
me.
does this need to be modified then?
I would
to state
suggest
that?
so. That way it's clear that you guys are also allowed just
Okay.
speak to me about these things.
But it also allows, because the city attorney is not generally at meetings, so in the rare instance, but it has happened when Josette can't be at a council meeting.
It'd be Josette or I who would forward your questions to the city attorney.
Right.
Or if really necessary, put you in direct contact.
Mhm.
What if, God forbid, she did something and you guys need to be able to get a hold of the attorney to talk to him about that?
Mhm.
That would go through me,
Right.
to put you in touch with them.
But if you were at Disneyland.
It better be a fucking emergency.
Is that going to be in the minutes?
So easily.
Yeah.
Is that going to be in the minutes?
Yeah.
The official minutes?
Verbatim. Okay, so number 18,
Yeah.
are you guys
that
okay with
change.
city administrator
Or city recorder.
or city recorder?
Mhm.
And
Who will redirect to city attorney if
yeah, so
necessary.
questions for the city attorney will be forwarded or
Relayed
relayed.
through city administrator or recorder.
Perfect. Thank you. Yeah, because it's kind of misleading, like you guys can't ask me, but I'm your guys' person.
I would like to say I'm really proud of this council and members of staff particularly in requesting permission to speak to a subject or to the public. You guys have been doing a really good job.
I will say that what does come to me, like via email through a citizen, I do a lot of forwarding right to her first. And then it goes to Josette, but my first forward is I just put S on and Stephanie's name pops up and I forward it to her. And I've done that a lot with a lot of different things that,
Like
stuff that needs to be on record and passed on to Ruben. And so I think we're working pretty good with staff.
So section 19, I think the way it's worded is all fine. I think, and I've mentioned, I think to her this as well, that Josette has an opportunity, I think, where she could let counsel defend her sometimes before she defends herself, because I think that her jumping to defend herself first obviously is going to come off to the public as what it is, but
Yeah.
sometimes I think we can defend her and that would look better and feel better to the person. So not that that needs to change anything. It's just
Yeah.
an opinion that I've had in the
I think
past.
part of that, which letting it be known to her that you guys are ready to defend her would be great help. But I think part of it is learned behavior over years of the two of us not being defended,
Right.
where we've had to defend ourselves.
Yeah.
Because it has been pretty brutal at times.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's not just in here where they're attacking us, it's over there.
Of course.
So it's just learned behavior of like, well, okay, nobody's going to
No one's here.
so I have to defend myself right now.
Yeah.
So I think if knowing that will help a lot. And if you guys see that happening,
Mhm.
I'm very much as guilty. Just say, hold on, let me first,
Mhm.
and then address it.
And the other thing, if it's a personnel issue, it should not be dealt with in open
No.
session, which the situation most recently that I'm aware of was. And, you know, I totally, I think Josette was very prudent in what she said, and I was very proud of her. And because, like you said, there's been a lot of non-defense
Mhm.
of staff. The other thing is, as it relates to that, what you're saying, specific to a personnel issue, I think we need to be a little more versed in what to say when something is said here as it relates to a employee. I think that an employee that is an employee of the council, not the employee of the city, I think we need to, as you said, stop it there
Mhm.
and say that is not an appropriate conversation for here. If there's an issue on that, please come to me directly or set an appointment so that we can have that conversation outside. This is a public forum and not the appropriate place. Other things that were said were addressed to council, which was fine.
One, really, it's council's meeting, not staff's meeting. So the
And that's
public
true.
should be addressing council unless they're given specific approval to address something directly to staff, which it makes it easier when they're not looking at you talking negatively about things you did or did not do. When
Allegedly.
they're talking this way,
Right.
it does help
Yeah.
when they're not.
Yeah, it's not
Directly.
direct.
We have an official complaint process when they come in. It's basically that one was kind of a complaint against a staff
Mhm.
employee.
I'm not sure exactly which scenario you're talking about.
Well, the one on the medical call.
Oh.
Oh,
I thought
that
you guys
wasn't,
handled that.
That was not what I was
yeah, that one wasn't the one I was thinking of
You guys
either.
handled that.
myself either. Yeah.
All the
Oh,
responses
absolutely.
were-
But if somebody has a complaint though.
Yeah.
And they don't understand. They're coming to council to air their grievance.
Mhm.
Which it's an educational thing. Your first step is to go there and file a formal complaint and work through the administrator so everybody knows what the complaint is.
Yeah.
Then if you view the administrator or staff, whoever's adjudicating this, is not being fair with you, then you come to the council and lay out your case. But
Well, I
they're
think-
trying to short circuit that but most of it's an educational thing. I mean,
to say. It is. it's
It
very
it
much-
is, and that's where we need to be able to step forward and go, okay, there's a process in place for.
Yeah. Well, in my time here, without trying to remember specific scenarios, it seems like 10% of it is people who haven't discussed it with staff at all, and so
Right.
they're just upset and they need to be directed to staff. 90% of it is people who have come in and they have dealt with staff, including Josette. Usually I like to diffuse situations, so typically if they're angry, I'm the one who does it. And then if they want the manager, then they talk to Josette also. And they're just not happy with what the resolution of the scenario was, which is enforcing whatever it is that we're enforcing, which is an ordinance, a law. It is beyond our power to do anything more. So they're just wanting to come and continue their grievance and have their say, which sometimes just hearing it, acknowledge that they have these feelings, but don't sympathize and say, I'm sorry, or it's our fault.
Yeah.
Don't.
Don't
Because
engage
sometimes
it.
that's what they want. It's just, thank you for coming. We understand. We'll consider your thoughts and move on. Usually it's that they're just mad because they didn't get what they wanted. Can't.
Oh, it's one of them right there.
Virus and threat protection.
Oh,
There's a what?
It's just saying that
Virus
we're
and
protected.
Oh, the virus. Oh, yeah.
I know, I thought you said fire
I thought it said
for a
fire.
moment too, and then I heard it, I went, no, okay, I know what that is.
So that, and just thinking back, that seems like the majority of what they are, because they're just still mad.
Well, they want to hear from more people that they can't get their way than just
Well,
two.
yeah.
2 was not enough. Let's try more.
Yeah.
But once you've had 7, then, oh, okay, maybe I'll go home.
If we went to the greatest power and still we didn't get what we wanted, then maybe it just wasn't doable.
Mhm. Yeah.
I don't know if that really
Okay.
changed anything, but
No,
and I did put down that council is prepared to defend staff if the public is.
definitely. And I think that's an opportunity where if we're at 5 minutes, especially that we hear it, because I'm surprised. I mean, it's a double-edged sword. I'm surprised honestly that more people don't come to speak, but then I'm always surprised at the ones who do that have clearly done no effort, like no research, did not read the paper, did not ask staff, like they're out of their element completely. And I'm like, are you not embarrassed by this? Like,
They may not. They may not, no.
no.
And again, that's the education.
Right. And that's
And
where we
if
can
they're-
step in and be like, actually, what you think you know is this is the case. Actually, that person was not following protocol. And so we support our staff and let's move on. Like, I don't think we need to allow more than that. We don't need to allow staff to be attacked if we know
Or there's
what the
significant-
situation was.
a
and that it was
significant amount of information on this topic. I encourage you to reach out to the city administrator to set up an appointment.
Mhm. Yeah.
And on this topic, same goes, which I have good feeling about moving forward with council, but same goes with counselors.
Right.
It is the mayor's role to preside over the meeting, but also if you see that he's having a hard time or he's not here, it's, all of you guys have a right to speak up and say, this feels out of order, or you guys are badgering staff, or this person is badgering staff, we need to move on.
Yeah.
You guys all have, he's presiding over the meeting, but you guys all have that power. If you are uncomfortable with something and it feels like it's out of line or out of place.
Yeah. Or if it's dragging something on, and I mean, obviously items for mayors and counselors, it's okay to have a few questions, but yeah, if it's the list, that should have followed the 10 days.
Yes.
So that's an easy,
Well,
Or just.
no, that needs to follow personal communications.
well, yes, but if you needed to add your list to the agenda,
Right.
10 days ago was when that should have happened,
You're right.
not right now.
Yeah.
At the end of the meeting, when we already approved the agenda and are trying to go home.
Yeah, I mean, the items for mayors, councilors, and city administrator, but specifically as it relates to us, are very specific as to what it's supposed to be. I know.
Well, it says it's not limited to that, but I love that it gives those examples because it's very like include but not limited to future council meeting absences, planned attendance of other meetings on behalf of the city, or statement of attendance at a previous meeting on behalf of the city. Like, yeah, it's much more correspondency than like, here's 27 topics I just came up with.
Yeah, what about the light on the corner? And yeah, that does not belong under there unless it's truly like you brought up there was a Facebook discussion about. But again, if
That's really not
it's,
supposed to be there either.
but, or you can say, I heard from some constituents,
Mhm.
which is a legitimate statement.
Yeah.
But again, if you're hearing that ahead of time, that could be brought forward in an email to be added to the agenda.
Mhm.
Because it's not an emergency.
Unless it's emergency, it doesn't get added.
Right, that's what I said.
Oh, yeah, sorry. I was thinking.
Are you
meant at
badgering
that
me?
meeting. Yeah, sorry. I'm speaking out of turn.
Did you ask permission?
I know. It's a work session. It's less formal.
Okay.
So in the past, I told you I will interrupt until the end of days. I'm uncontrollable.
Okay.
That's
What were
what the
you gonna
gavel is
say?
for.
What are you going to say?
So in years past, she let me go. She released me. Under items from mayor and councilors, wasn't where you asked for updates on 27 different topics. That is a phone call or an email or stopping by City Hall. That was, I got invited to this meeting at the city county dinner, just a heads up for anybody else who wants to attend, or we published the potential quorum, but it wasn't for getting all these different updates on different things, unless it was, something of, I don't want to say great importance, but something of urgent, emergencies.
Well, and so to use that example then of the Facebook discussion I brought up, I wasn't really asking.
I don't know what you're talking about.
I wasn't asking to do something about it right then. It was about the cell service dropping when the power went out.
Oh, yeah, that one.
Because that's a safety concern, obviously, for our
Yeah,
community. It was
yeah.
more like, I saw that this was discussed and that people love to go on Facebook and go, someone at the city should do something about this, but they don't call the city to ask if someone does something about it. So just bringing that up so that staff could see it and say, I'd like more information about this next time. So to me, that was more like trying to bring up a future action item before the action item summary than like, I want to update what should be done about this now.
In that scenario, it could be like, is council, this thing came up, would council like to discuss this at the next meeting, or would you like me just to address it with the city administrator directly?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Because otherwise it is a new subject matter, and I'm as guilty as the next person, but it's a new subject, not on the agenda, trying to have a discussion about it, to take it to the city administrator to have her act on it. So again, I mean, I think that's a good way of doing it, is moving.
And I wasn't thinking specifically of that one. I'm just hard against social media coming to meetings. So
I
my
understand,
suggestion would
but
be,
it's
I heard from
2023 and there's a lot of that,
but it's a public meeting.
right?
So it would bring your personal Facebook into public records law.
I have nothing on my Facebook that I'm worried about hiding.
Yeah. So my suggested.
It's public already.
My suggested verbiage is, I heard from my constituents.
Okay.
Unless
Through
we
Facebook.
are talking. Unless we were talking. We've had counselors actually come and do this, which if I got a request, I would read through everything on your phone, including your private messages and everything you ever posted 20 years, okay, that's not, 4 years ago before you were a member of council, and those are all drawn into question. So I caution against using it.
I think you think we have scandalous lives though that we don't have.
But no,
but
it doesn't matter.
Can't speak for everyone, but
And
We're a small
I know.
city, but in large cities, if you laughed or liked a meme that was considered
Oh, yeah.
today's day
Mhm.
racist or in any way a negative thing, those are all called into your character
Right.
and some lawsuits. So realistically here, no, but I go to a lot of trainings and I hear a lot of case law and it is terrifying.
Mhm.
So my preferred verbiage so that I don't have to give is I heard from constituents. Unless you're in person, then you can go ahead and tell me it was on social media or something.
Yeah. And that's why, I know that's not in here. And that actually maybe should be, social media should be a subset of this, of the rule as to what we can and cannot or should and should not do. Because I know it becomes a serial meeting if you post something, I comment on it, Dale comments on, and then the mayor likes it. That is considered a
I
serial
don't think
meeting.
anyone, not really doing that.
But they do.
We know that.
No,
it
but
has
no, but
happened.
it has multiple times. Because if Dale posts something about the weather and first, because he never does that.
Never.
But makes a comment about something and it relates to
City business.
being, well, the city is going to get out there and make sure that that drain is cleared. And then you like it and I comment, oh yes, they already did. And Sharice says, yeah, I saw that. That's a serial meeting. It doesn't take much to put us at risk. And that's why I don't comment. I don't smile, I don't heart much stuff that any of you ever post. I don't wish people happy birthdays anymore. I'm a terrible person, but I'm just overly cautious. And I know that it doesn't seem fair or right, or that it's like, yeah, we're not going to do that. But I think that part of the thing is we need to just be conscious of all of those things at setting the example and just remembering not to do it at all, because then if something does happen, it's like, oh yeah, that was really funny, or that was great.
And I think
Really glad.
Stephanie does a good job of providing us with those reminders and guidance liberally,
Yes.
but I also think there's a difference between discretion and we shouldn't do anything, because it totally subjectively, from my perspective as a citizen, if all I saw was people complaining, commenting, whatever, and no one ever giving any reply or information to even try to diffuse or be like, here's one fact, contact City Hall for more. But if there's nothing, it just looks like we don't care or we're not present as
But
representatives of the citizens.
So
So
the perfect response for that is,
Mhm.
I understand your concerns. There's more information on this topic. I encourage you to contact City Hall.
yeah,
Don't do,
and I've been trying to do that. But to me, when I just see a thread spiraling out of control and no one's addressing like the simple fact that could help shut it down,
Yeah.
and then people are frustrated, and I see that people feel like there isn't a connection between City Hall and the citizens, and that's our role. So I think being careful and cautious and discretionary is important, but I personally am not going to promise to not say anything ever. Like,
I'm not one
I know.
to promise. I'm not on there anymore
Mhm.
because of this.
Again.
It becomes on the community boards. I'm not on it at all. And I deleted my app because of other reasons. I can't, knowing what I know
Mhm.
and seeing it on there, and knowing also that previous people had also had private groups, which is highly illegal,
Mhm.
I can't help but want to. It physically affects me.
Yeah, it's not good for your.
And because I am here to protect you guys.
Mhm.
But once I give you the information, the rest is on you guys.
Yeah.
If you guys want to go out and deliberate on Facebook, you guys are the ones who personally get fined.
Yeah.
They will fine you thousands of dollars and you will have to pay that personally.
Yeah.
I don't want to see you.
ethics board, and
Yeah.
that's not fun.
Yeah.
Whether
State
you're
agency
guilty or not.
investigating me, it doesn't feel good. It is my job to try and protect you guys. I will always harp on you guys about this. But at the end of the day, it's on you.
So there's,
The people who want the information, that's just the hardest thing about social media is all they want to do is complain.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's all they want to do. And it's a subset of the community. The rest of them who truly care, rarely will any of the people on those threads actually pick up the phone and call us.
Right.
I think I could probably count it on this hand.
It's just something where I see, and I've seen it a lot, where someone says something that isn't completely true or has already been addressed and they haven't bothered to ask that question. And then you just get like 100 comments of people going, well, that's outrageous.
jump on the bandwagon.
Right. And they're not going to call. But if one, and you aren't going to change the mind of the person who posted the complaint. But if someone could be like, that's in the works, see this document, contact City Hall, whatever, then at least the people coming here seeing it and getting outraged without doing any research at all, it can curb that, I think.
So oftentimes, probably 8 out of 10, the person who's posting it
Mhm.
knows the truth
That's
and
fair.
they're strictly trying to stir the pot.
Yeah.
One such scenario was brought up to me today. The person who posted
Mhm.
knew the truth.
Mhm.
And they posted something just to stir the pot.
Mhm. Oh, that's
So
been
that it
happening
would
with the
create
grandstand.
its own thing.
Yeah.
They don't want to know. They just want people's reaction. And oftentimes people responding back also just want to have a reaction.
I mean, I agree with your
I
point.
agree.
There's been times in the past that I've seen one of those, I
Mhm.
won't say what I think they are, starts SS. But if you can just, a lot of times you can link them to a document that exists
Right.
on the city website
Yeah.
or, or the minutes or something where council has taken action on this,
Yeah.
so you can just
It
go,
works. See these minutes.
see this.
City Hall for more information.
Page this section here, whatever, and, or an ordinance or whatever. Or the other tactic is, if you think it might get you into, I think what the law is really trying to say is, you can't be deliberating, and if there gets two counselors or a third in there deliberating, that's where you're crossing the line. You're presenting just facts,
Mhm.
but you got to be careful.
It's very hard.
Yeah, but phone a friend. If you have a friend on Facebook.
Yeah.
Go,
Spouse.
are you, yeah, and
Yeah, oh,
usually,
yeah.
usually you have somebody, well, I use old Brett Crossley all the time. Because we'll see somebody and he'll say something
He does it on his own.
and I'll go, well, here's this link, Brett, and then he'll post it for me.
Or you can PM send and message them directly.
Yeah,
If you send them a message and they message you back and say, well, I talked to Dale and he thought this, and you say, stop. No.
Yeah.
There's that.
And that's
You know,
happened before
And
as
if you
well.
guys see,
Mhm.
so say Rick saw Sharice on there talking about this item in the city, and he talks to Susan about it,
yeah,
and then that creates a meeting.
Yeah.
If you guys are trying to come up with your thoughts towards making a decision
Mhm.
unknowingly, and it is also intent. If it will likely happen in such a small community, and if something comes forward, say, hey, we ran into each other this weekend at the grocery store and we started talking about this and this is what we discussed, move on.
Mhm.
So it's just, you didn't mean to, it happened, it was truly an accident, then you just make that known in a public meeting and you're good.
Mhm.
The likelihood that any of this will ever become an issue is extremely unlikely.
I'm like Susan, I very rarely comment, but oh my gosh, I want to in the worst.
yeah.
I talk to my computer or my phone, and you just,
But don't,
we literally.
I don't get involved.
City council,
no.
you need to pay attention.
It's
But
And we've talked about having a public information officer in the past, but it seems like it was just problematic.
Well, it creates, they always want to do the back and forth.
Yeah.
And really all it should be is for more information on this topic,
Mhm.
please contact City Hall.
Yeah.
Or call this number, or.
Yeah.
But again,
If you want to be
Doing this-
informed on this subject, please call
Yes.
City Hall.
But I don't usually feel a need to give any reasoning because if they went to the minutes of the recording, it's already there. We talked about why we reached that decision, right? It's just,
Nobody listens to meetings.
I know that, but if you tell them that that's there,
Yeah.
you can just be like, this is already in the works.
Here it is, right here.
So,
yeah, well, at the end of the day, you guys can do whatever you want. And the same goes for staff. I have given them the information they need. Theirs isn't public meetings, but it's public records.
Mhm.
At the end of the day, if they want to go down that route, they can do that. Go for it. I just, not being on those boards, or I usually will get on there again. And I'm like, oh, no, I can't do it. I can't do it. And then I get off again. But having given the information, it's a much less stressful world for me to live in, because it got kind of dark.
well, and I don't think as staff that there's any inherent obligation for you. Like, you're not a representative of citizens.
No, but my job is to protect you guys.
Yeah.
With public records and public meetings.
Right.
It has at times, not with, I don't think any of you guys were on at the time, become very dark for me.
Yeah.
I don't mean to interrupt,
Very
but
stressful.
can we move along? a little?
There you go, Mr. Mayor.
Is
I'd like to
this,
Finish up by 8:30 if we can.
Okay.
Before the blizzard hits.
Yeah.
Sorry.
20? I think those are probably,
Impertinent or slanderous remarks, huh? What's an unauthorized remark?
I think 20 and 21 and 22 are pretty self-explanatory, and
Yeah.
Mhm.
I don't need to delve into them too much.
Getting down to 23 topics of the floor, I am going to start to adhere to the 5-minute rule, and I'm going to get we have a 5-hour little hourglass, 5-minute
Yes.
little sand glass. So I'm going to get that out and start using it.
And I'll put the little disclaimer on there again. I used to have it on the agenda saying council.
And I'll announce to the participant that you come forward, state your name and address, and I will give this rule to them, give them the 5-minute rule and say, and also we don't make a decision on your concern here tonight, but we're glad you're here and we're sure willing to listen. So that's what I'll start to do again on that.
Yeah, that was one of my comments, because I appreciate your talking about that, because that was one of the things that I was very concerned about, the fact that we were not doing.
And I think it's one thing if we reach the 5-minute mark and we are close, or like this has been compelling and we want to ask some questions, or, there's still substance. But if the person is just ranting or circling,
It's not easy because last year, and I think you were at the meeting, we had one participant and he came forward and he was very adamant about our police department. And so it's very difficult. So I kind of look at that situation and nobody said a word. And it's almost better to let that person just let it all out. Go over the 5 minutes. In this case, we did. We just let him go. And I get it.
I don't
No,
agree.
I would like to answer as soon as you are done with your comment.
Yeah, exactly. My experiences with people like that if you let them talk and rather than shut them down after 5 minutes. I think it kind of diffuses, takes the power out of their, I'm having a hard time explaining myself, but it actually keeps it lighter. And so you have to use your discretion at times, I think. Maybe you don't agree, Susan, but
I don't agree, and I'll tell you why.
okay.
Because the next person who spoke at that same meeting, you cut her off. And you said, no, I'm sorry, we have a 5-minute limit and I'm sorry, we're going to have to hold you to that. Where the person was almost 40 minutes, I believe. And there was a lot of back and forth of discussion between
Council, yeah.
and the person. And that goes, I don't know where you were going with that, but it cannot be subjective. It has to be objective. The rule is 5 minutes, no more. And at 5 minutes, you say, I appreciate that. If you have more to say, we can set an appointment to have you speak with me, or you can speak with the city administrator. But at this time, that your time is up, and we appreciate your coming. Thank you very much. Next person is X person, because then if you're that next person who just heard this guy talk for 40 minutes or 35 minutes, whatever it was, and
Yeah,
they've then now been, it's like, well, excuse me, what about me? And that also sets the precedent for every other meeting after that, that anybody who comes in
Yeah.
who has something they're passionate about is going to expect to be able to go 30 minutes.
you're right.
So I'm sorry, that was my.
You understand my, yeah.
I also understand when you've got somebody who's really passionate and has something, maybe they are very interesting and engaging and you really do want to hear what they have to say, but that's not the time. Set a workshop. If you have something you want to, well, I don't know if that's allowed, but
Yes, in here.
Stephanie, what were you going to say on that?
So when you get to the end of the time, let them know that their time is up
Okay.
and say, please wrap up your thought. If they're in the, it's rude to cut off a sentence, but don't let them keep going. Let them
Okay.
finish their sentence or their 2 sentences, their thought that they're getting out, and then wrap it up. It is your safety net. It is awkward, but you'll get over it. Eventually, It won't be awkward anymore. It's your safety net. If you think you have to take 40 minutes of abuse by a citizen,
Yeah.
you don't know if you can make it. You know, all you have is 5 minutes. You can suffer through a lot in 5 minutes.
Well,
Because you know it's going to come to an end.
actually, after that incident, and I'll call it an incident. Well,
it was a meeting.
it was a meeting. After that meeting, I did say, I need to go back to the 5-minute rule. And I know.
And it isn't easy. And that I've gotten to the age where I'm getting mean and I don't care what they think if I say, sorry, meeting's supposed to start at 6, we're starting at 6, but they're downstairs. I don't care. We're starting now. I mean, that kind of thing. This is the rule.
And I
And
could
we
do
just-
that. It was just, that was the only meeting out of hundreds of meetings that I've been involved in that I felt, whoa. I just, and I'm really, I have a good tuition about people, places and things. And in that case, he was really wound up. And I
No.
was kind of caught off guard too with it a little bit. And so.
Yeah, no, and it was, I understand. I could see you were uncomfortable. I
Yeah.
was an audience member. I couldn't do anything about it other than to go. It's like.
Yeah, and I saw that.
Yeah, and it's like, and I know you were feeling a little uncomfortable and I guess JR was president at that time.
Yeah.
JR should have, if he was there.
He was there.
Was he there that day?
Yeah.
Yeah, to say,
Everyone was here.
Mr. Mayor.
Yeah.
Point of order. Anybody at that point, any counselor.
So at the end, he actually was like almost congratulated from my perspective. It was like, oh, don't worry. It was fine, and So I agree he was passionate about it and that you clearly sensed that. But to me, he was very disrespectful.
Oh, yes,
Oh, yeah.
absolutely.
And that was kind of like brushed off at the end of like, well, we have thick skin. That's why we're here. It's like, well, you don't give agency to someone to come in here and be unprofessional and berate council.
Right.
And I felt that happened. And so
Yeah.
to me, it's not a matter of having thick skin. It's a matter of professionalism. I'm not here to be abused. Staff is not here to be abused.
Well, I'm going to start using my timer.
And keep it civil. And the thing is, it's not that he didn't know. He apologized 3 or 4 times in the middle of his speech for how he was speaking and then continued to speak that way.
Yeah.
And
You're aware. And to me, I would be like, you know what? We're at time. If you have anything else to wrap up, keep it professional or let's move on because that
it
was
says
frustrating.
The bottom paragraph, if a matter presented to council is of a complex nature, the mayor and majority of the council may, one, postpone the public comments till later in the agenda after completion, or schedule the matter for continued discussion at a future work session or council meeting. So that's exactly, I mean, you all, I have in the past, but you've all experienced that now. Now you know what to do. It's like next time.
Well, if you
Thank you.
feel like it's warranted, but if you just feel like the person's circling and you've heard what you needed to hear, then
Then-
don't owe them that either.
No,
It
but
can just be done.
But his was a more complex issue.
Right.
Well, my recommendation would be, if you guys want to hear more about something, request that staff bring back a report at the next meeting.
Mhm.
At that point, you guys can decide, I want to have a work session, or
Yeah.
because if you guys right then book a work session and we're like,
What for?
we really don't want to.
No,
Or it's like,
but it's
there's been
postponing.
times where we've had citizens come forward who were extremely aggressive and council was very engaged and interested in what they were saying, but they were being very belligerent to staff. And then a work session was scheduled and then we had to suffer through it again when it could have been resolved, I think, with the staff report.
That's fair.
So if you guys want to have a work session and you're instantly like, okay, I want to have one, I would ask that you consider first asking staff to bring forward a report at the next meeting for you guys to hear more information and or schedule a work session. It's fully within your
Well,
right, but
I'm feeling more comfortable up there and now, and I think I'm going to do okay in the future, so.
And the other thing is, the last paragraph of that section 23 is the mayor and city council may or may not respond to audience comments after the audience participation portion of the meeting has been closed and may direct staff to respond.
Where's that, Susan?
The last top of the next page, last paragraph of just before section 24, at the very top of the page, or the second, first real paragraph there. The mayor and city council may or may not respond to audience comments after the audience participation portion of the meeting is
All
closed.
located too.
Exactly.
So, but it's all of it. And so I think that gives us a moment to pause, to take our breath and to say, after each person has spoken, thank you very much for attending. We have heard what you said, or whatever you want to say. And then just that's it, rather than engaging, because I think the engaging part is where we get in trouble.
Yeah.
Because we do want to know more. That was interesting. Let's find out more. But like with the first responder incident, the appropriate thing, I really wanted to know more, was that sounds like a staff issue. Can you please make an appointment? I think was and I know was.
And we did do that.
No, that's what I'm saying. That is the appropriate thing to do and not engage in a further questioning, because that is not the time. They have made their comments. We can make notes while they're making comments. I always do, for if there is something we need to follow up with. But I think that it's our rule is this. We need to stick with the rule, because otherwise it puts us at risk when we don't treat everyone the same at every meeting.
Well, the rule states that we may or may not. I think there's discretion there, and I think that there should be. I mean, when Weller came in about the water issues, we had a lot of questions and discussion, but
But is that the time for that conversation?
it is. When your house is flooding right now, yes, I think it is.
That's a conversation for Public Works and the city administrator, not for council. And for us to intelligently have a conversation about something on the fly, we should be able to, but I don't believe just because we should be able to, that we should have those conversations. I'm sorry he's having that at the moment. Thank you very much for letting us know. City administrator is here. She has heard your concern. Please follow up with her in the morning or call the emergency number like we did.
Well, and sometimes just waiting till the end, it'll help combat some of that combativeness amongst council or staff, like we talked about earlier. Because if you just take a minute, sometimes those responses that needed to come out at the time really didn't need to actually come out. And you have had a minute to settle down and just move on from it. So I think that'll be helpful, knowing that you don't necessarily, if it's 5 minutes, like I said, you can just buckle down and take it. But if it's longer, or there's going to be all this back and forth, then that's where the combativeness comes out. I think we're defending ourselves, right?
But one comment on,
I think
so
sometimes
people that come, we probably have, I don't know, you can classify them into two different groups. You got the ones that are in here wanting to cause some sparks or just air grievances. And then there's others that just, you know, they have a legitimate concern that they're bringing forward.
yeah, we need.
I hate when, you know, we bottle ourselves up and I think there should be a response that, like you said, yes, that is interesting what you okay?
No, but I'll be all right.
Okay.
My kneecap.
Oh, your kneecap. Oh. You know, there's got to be some acknowledgement. Otherwise, it's like,
You can't be.
well, they're just ignoring us.
Yeah.
No, and that's why
And
you
we
said,
have to-
thank you very much. It
Yes.
gets added to the city administrator's action summary.
Right.
Mr. Weller's come in, there's a problem with the water. It's been identified. That is the person you need to speak to. It isn't council's job to figure out.
Solved it.
But I was new to council. I needed a lot of information that I got at that meeting that I hadn't had before. And I don't know. I couldn't have gone out and done the walk a few days later. I couldn't have reprioritized our initiatives not having that information. So sometimes I agree with Dale that I think sometimes there needs to be a response,
Then
not always, but
how do
I'm
I
not obligated to it by any means.
mean,
And it's tough because you have no response for the guy that's in here just blowing up, just blow up. You're not going to really want to acknowledge that or encourage it. But the next guy's up there with a legitimate concern and, oh yeah, so-and-so,
That's a natural
something
consequence.
we need to follow up on. And
But again, is that a council job or is it a city staff job? If it is council's work, then we need to add it to our list and we bring it back at the next meeting or call a special meeting or a work session for it. If it is something we need to do individually or as a council that we need to do, absolutely, we need to be involved in that conversation. If it really isn't a council silo, if it's not really our job to be doing,
but we need to acknowledge that in the meeting of saying, you know, kind of polling ourselves of, do we need to be involved in this or is this a staff issue? And then, but that way you're acknowledging to that person that, yes, we heard you, but this is where this needs to go.
Yeah.
Or
so
we have heard this multiple times and now council is more interested in, we need to have a workshop with staff and investigate this together as why this is a continuing issue or something.
Well,
Or we direct the mayor to have the discussion.
Right, I was going to say that would be the
administrator.
appropriate,
And-
because it's not our,
and with Dennis, we actually directed it to the city administrator. And then a couple days later, we set up a meeting, and myself and Josette and our engineer, and we sat at this table with Mr. Wellner and got it all and got everyone on the same page. And so it was a good thing how we approached it. And Dale said, like, it's not easy. It's not easy, you know, but I'm really glad we're having this discussion because your rebuttal to what I said really helped me, and it's going to help me in the future too. And I'm going to be able to, you know, cut it off after 5 minutes and thank them for bringing it to our attention and directing to the right appropriate staff member. So.
If it's an item that you really want to hear more about, say, after you meet, will you please report back on what happened with this incident? Kind of like the emergency response one. So if Weller was, or whoever was here,
Yeah.
and she had to address it with him, but you guys want to hear more, will you please report back on what the resolution is of this, or come in or call and say,
Yeah.
what's the background with this? It seems like there's more information that I'm missing here, or
The other
there's
one
going to be a
that,
lot of interesting things.
oh, yes.
the other one that I've always been a little worried about is, say, council developing an ordinance or a resolution policy decision that you have members of the community that are basically subject matter experts in the issue you're discussing. And they only get 5 minutes to address you. It's, I guess that's that part of that educational part for those people is they need to frame it to the council. You know, one, I have this background in this, but two, have you thought of this? Put enough questions in their mind that then you are going to move it down the road, either into a workshop or a separate agenda item. But those people, there's times that there's value in those people and you need more than 5 minutes of their time.
Well, maybe we could tell them, okay, this is audience participation. We only allow 5 minutes to be heard. If your concern or presentation is going to be longer, why don't you, we'll come back next meeting as a presentation.
Exactly.
And then you could, and like, for example, before I joined the council, I was a member of the Lions Club and I initiated the revamping of the wading pool. So I had all that data and work and I brought it to the council as a presentation rather than an audience participation segment.
But you can have 10 people that have 15 minutes each. So they could submit written testimony that could be 20 pages, 200 pages if they wanted, for you guys to be able to get all their input. The
Yes.
problem with, which I understand, the problem is placing more, I don't want to say credit, importance on one person because
versus
you
another.
perceive them as more important than Sally Mae over here. They must be treated equally.
So, and I think that is I think that's the answer, is that, thank you for speaking. It sounds like you've got a lot to offer. Can you please provide us with your written information so that we can fully, absorb everything you're trying to express us from all of you out there who, presuming there's multiples. And then that way it can be added to the agenda and the packet, and we can have what looks like a real packet, like some cities get.
Right. Well, if it's a big, like, livestock ordinance, let's say that there probably was a lot of people here who had say, and you see there's a lot of citizens who want to have a chance to speak. And there's time that allows, so it's more public testimony area. If you had a scenario like that, you could stay the discussion and have it at another meeting also, so that they can come back with more information or have a chance to have written something and sent it to you guys or to me to get to you guys. So
Yeah.
you can have more say in it. If you see that there's, that is of value, you can table it and wait till the next meeting so they can have a second chance to talk.
So the one scenario, and I was involved in it, but it was when we'd got bids, well, a bid to dredge the number 2 lagoon. And it was kind of, and then members of the Public Works Committee, which I was a member of that then. And it was interesting because we'd had a discussion, or the engineer actually was the first one that kind of tipped his hat on it. And so then a couple of us were like, yeah, what's going on here, and we did some investigative work online where you could pull up where these, and all of a sudden we're like, wow, this bid's way out of line, and so it was a little awkward that, you're sitting back here with information that's valuable to the council to make a decision. Luckily, one of the counselors was, what's your opinion on this, to the audience? But it's like, and then, you're kind of limited in how much time you have to, okay, well, there's a bid here in this city and they're doing it for this. And there's a bid in this city to the south, they're doing it for this. And we're about double. I don't think it's a good deal.
A recommendation from a committee is different than somebody coming up to the floor.
Well, it was a deadline. There was a push to do it. And it was just a last minute thing that came up, and, it was awkward. It wasn't like the committee didn't have time to give a recommendation. It was all of a sudden it's in front of the council. They're voting on it tonight. And then everybody all of a sudden, ooh, getting cold feet. Ooh, we're getting taken to the cleaners here. Somebody needs to say something,
That's where it's important that council puts value in their committees.
But, I'm just, if you have somebody in the audience that's got that information, and if it goes more than 5 minutes, that's where that's my one reservation on that. But I see where you got to treat everybody the same.
But committees are different than.
But it wasn't coming from a committee at that point.
No.
Yeah, it really wasn't coming from the committee. It was a couple of individuals that, had go, are you looking at this? And what are you seeing? And yeah, this is what I'm seeing.
So I'd like to weigh in because I am guilty kind of doing that prior to my councilhood. I used to come to every meeting, almost every meeting, and I'd always sit at the back. And CDBG was a discussion a lot, community development block grant money, and whether or not a project would be able to be done, or whether it was completed. As the grant administrator, I was here partly for that too. And there were times when I would say, I would raise my hand. Actually, I think Josette was probably mayor at the time. And it's like, do you have something to say? And I said, yes. And I would give the information specifically about that grant and the information about the program or whatever it was. So the way I'm looking at this as a citizen, if I had something to say, I would have needed to fill out a form.
Yeah.
So again, education to the community, look at the agenda and see what's on it. And again, that's on people to do it. Did I ever do that? No. And things come up at the last minute where, oh, by the way, CDBG, ...
Let's see, if we get too strict though, somebody could go.
Well, I don't think
"Mayor,
we're
this is out of
proposing,
order."
Yeah, exactly.
if we're not proposing to change the wording, then we're fine.
Yeah.
The wording has discretion built into it.
Well, and that I think is part of the problem.
Ready to allow everyone
Yeah.
You are setting precedent.
Can I ask, because you
Absolutely.
said you wanted to be done at 8:30. I have some comments on several of the others.
Sure.
So I would rather not hold us here forever because I don't even know what it's looking like outside. Maybe not
You
forever,
can sleep in.
but no, I can't. I have work to do. I'm not retired. But can we push this to another night? I just,
If you guys want to have a continuance.
because you'd want it to be done at 8:30. It's 8:30
We're doing
and,
so well.
sorry.
We kind of hung up on this one.
Yeah, we did.
But that's
And-
why it's important to discuss it.
You know, it's been some great discussion. And I would be open to another night when Counselor Norman could be here as well.
I mean, we're only halfway right now, so.
Are we?
Yeah, we're about halfway.
I can bring a staff report with, am I in the right spot?
Yeah, I suppose we better.
A staff report with,
Yeah, just about
Probably
halfway.
March.
I was thinking we were further.
No,
Hey, bud.
Oh, yeah,
are you
where
guys
we're at.
schedule another work session?
Okay.
I'm open to another meeting
We
to
haven't
finish this.
23, have we?
I think it doesn't sound like we're changing the wording of 23.
Well.
It's just for really debating, I guess, what we want Rick to do as he carries it out.
Well, and that shouldn't be the discussion about. I mean, if the language is the language, then, and we're leaving it. I guess that was my question is were we going to leave it as that subjective? And I get, and again, I think that it needs to be clear that it's may or may not respond, not may or may not engage. I mean, that's my only question is, if there's the need for clarifying questions and discussion, that needs to be moved to another night or, another workshop, a meeting, an appointment, something. If it is simply response, I think it's fine the way it is. But the problem is that's going to encourage them, that's going to make them think that there's going to be a discussion. So that's just my take on what we might want to think about the language there.
Well, it's also going to be lessons learned over time. Did you hear me? I mumbled.
No.
It's also, sorry, it's also going to be lessons learned over time.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, you guys haven't experienced all of the topics from floor aggression that I have. And then also, I wasn't there for the meeting that you were talking about with dredging. So we will all have experiences, and over time, as we are experiencing things together, we'll figure out, oh, this doesn't really work, or this is working fantastically. We like how it's going. So these are always evolving. It's been too long since they've been reviewed, but
I'm going to do my best to go by the 5-minute rule.
Well, and be upfront about it too, so people,
Yeah, and
Prioritize what they're
Just
saying,
about it.
not rant on the first thing and.
Well, they're not
I had
blindsided
4
while you're,
things.
you know.
Yeah,
we told you it was 5 minutes
points to me.
yeah,
to get your point
I
across.
think the time needs to be.
Yeah, and 5-minute maximum, not like you said, 5
Right.
minutes per subject.
and
Wait,
Yeah.
step away. Here's my other one.
I'll do my best.
And actually, I
you're
wanted
doing a
to,
good job.
real quick, we're not going to ask for their addresses anymore,
Okay.
just their name, not their addresses, because
Oh.
everything's streamed now, so you're telling people where to target.
Okay.
Nice.
Good to know.
Yeah, so only names.
Just names. Okay.
Because nobody knows.
So how do we
What was the
know?
original purpose of that? Just to determine that they're a Vernonia resident? Because could we not just ask that?
Every state.
City did,
that I've
right,
talked
but what was the what do you think was
to.
the
Get context,
purpose?
where they're coming from, maybe.
And, yeah, and also,
Citizens or potentially Portland experts, or, I don't,
So maybe we just
Context.
ask, what city are you a resident of? Or something like more general than their actual street address. I don't know.
they'll typically
Mention.
mention, I am here with.
Yeah.
Portland Street Alliance or whoever, and this is where I'm coming from. But they're requesting not to do that anymore.
Good to know.
I mean, you can say, where are you from? Vernonia, or,
But like you said, most people who are talking have a specific thing they're bringing up.
I live on Quarry Hill where all the buildings are,
Yeah,
you know, or,
I'll just ask that they state their name for the record. So.
perfect.
So we're on 24 for the next meeting, so.
I apologize for the person who was the one who requested this. Showing up late. Yeah. There was multiple issues today.
Wow.
Yeah, no, started in Salem, my car. Oh, are we done? Are we
we're
postponed?
not adjourned yet, but I just put a note that I'm gonna bring forward a staff report at the next meeting with March
Okay.
and April. You want Anna?
Sure.
Well, April, we have review. So that would be a 4th April meeting, just throwing it out there.
Budget.
Sorry, budget.
Budget, when does that start?
March. I think we need to wrap it up.
Want to get busy.
You have no clue what city council meetings used to be like. How many?
I have many other meetings to attend though.
Oh,
so
I understand. I just
there is a mess.
Adjourn?
I'm ready to adjourn at
adjourning or just.
Or during the work session,
Got
I'm going to bring forward a.
meeting adjourned at 8:37 PM.
Somehow I managed to bend the inside